Good morning, I am Kevin Price. Delighted to be with you. Going to spend some time talking to you about you and your business. We got a lot to cover, and so I think we're going to get straight into it with my guest this morning, Michael Connelly. He's been on the program before. He's with a group called the U.S. Justice Foundation, and we're going to talk a little bit. I think our focus is going to be on the case for impeaching our current President of the United States, if I recall correctly. Is that right, Michael?
That's correct. The United States Justice Foundation has been around for 35 years, and we've been fighting for the Constitution. And we have a president now who is ignoring the Constitution, is violating his oath of office, the same oath I took to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I took that when I went in the military, and I have drawn up formal articles of impeachment, which I have submitted to members of Congress, and we understand, or we know for sure, that several members have sent that to the House Judiciary Committee, and it is now being considered in Congress.
Okay, very good. And Michael, I remembered you distinctly because you sound like Sam Elliott. I'm sure I'm not the first person that says that. But more importantly, I remember about you is you bring great content every time we get you on, and I think this is such an incredibly important and timely topic. I'm in shock. I'm in awe that there hasn't been, formal articles of impeachment more aggressively pursued. And I really believe that a Congress, a House, a Republican-dominated House, that allows the fact that the Senate is dominated by Democrats to be the reason why they don't pursue impeachment makes them almost as bad as the president who continues to perpetuate impeachment-worthy acts. Because, you know what? They were charged, the House were charged to defend the Constitution as well. And them allowing this president to continue to do this type of activity makes them really complicit with the president.
Well, the reason we are pushing for impeachment is it only takes a majority of the House to impeach the president. And then it has to go to the Senate for a full-scale trial, which would be a public trial. And the two-thirds of the Senate have to vote to remove him and find him guilty and remove him. That's not going to happen with the current Senate. That probably won't happen even if the Republicans take over the Senate. But it could. But the main thing is, if the House impeaches this man, and this will not happen after the elections, then it will put the brakes on some of the things he's doing, because the House will have special prosecutors appointed that will be able to cut through things like executive privilege and get information that he's been hiding on things like Operation Fast and Furious. They will be able to go after the survivors of Benghazi and get their depositions. A lot of information will be presented to the United States Senate and to the American people, which they haven't had before. And the president is going to be too busy defending himself to continue the next 2 years to try to destroy our country, which is essentially what he's doing.
Yeah, it would really force him to tone things down. If for no other reason, there's a simple concept in economics called opportunity cost. And if you're sitting there fighting every moment of the rest of your political time in the White House, fighting an impeachment battle, your activity is going to come either dramatically slowed down or come to a screeching halt, either of which would be an improvement over the really reckless and breakneck pace he's been doing his activities up to now.
Well, that's correct. And, the whole idea is that he's using executive orders. He's violating Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution, which says the president shall enforce the laws passed by Congress. It doesn't say he can decide which laws to enforce and which not to, which he does on things like immigration. It doesn't say he can amend laws on his own, which he's been doing on Obamacare. It doesn't say he can make laws like he's been doing on immigration and gun control. That will have to stop if he's fighting impeachment. And otherwise, if we don't do this, for the next 2 years, he's going to be putting forth executive orders that are going to basically undermine our Constitution to the point of total destruction.
Yep, no question about it. So you said you've got several Republican members who are interested and have showed interest in this. Tell me how many. You don't have to name names, but kind of give me a sense.
Well, we know for sure of one because we've confirmed, and people that listen to my radio show have confirmed with the House Judiciary Committee that they have received it, and they have the name of the congressman who, by the way, from Florida, who sent the articles over. They also indicated that they had come from several other sources, which they did not tell the people at this point. So we at least have one we know for sure, and we think there are 3 or 4 more that have forwarded the articles on to the House Judiciary Committee, and the staff members are saying, we want to get this right. We're going to look at this very carefully. We want to do this. And so they're urging people actually to contact their members of Congress if they're on the House Judiciary Committee and urge them to vote this out on the floor after the election.
What does the landscape, the political landscape of the House Judiciary Committee look like? I mean, obviously it's a Republican majority, but how many on there look like they have the stomach and the tenacity to take the next right step?
Well, I've looked at it, and we've got quite a few from Texas here, where I live, and there are a number of good Republicans on there that I think, particularly if they hear from their constituents, if the constituents are saying, look, we need to do this, and here's the reasoning behind it, I think that after the election is over and all the dust clears, that they will, in fact, vote it out on the House floor. I think they'll do that simply because of the fact there's enough outcry, they're going to want to put it on the floor to have the entire House vote on it.
Interesting. Trent Franks is a great guy. He's a personal friend. Louis Gohmert is a personal friend. Ted Poe and I went to the same university. There are some quality guys in this group.
Yeah,
Blake Fahrenholt's a good friend. Yeah. I'm going to invite these guys on my show, actually. Blake, all these guys I just named have been on my program. I'm going to invite them all back on and have conversations about this specific thing. I'm going to try to help you build this momentum.
Well, I appreciate it. And people can go to usjf.net, and they can read the articles. I've done the original articles back in February, and I've added a second article just in the last few weeks because of the fact that so much has happened since February. So people can go look at those articles, and they can contact their members of Congress and say, have you seen these? And if they have, then urge them to vote for them. If they haven't, then send them a copy. Or contact me, and I will send them a copy.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's an interesting list. I wonder if Darrell Issa will help you or not, considering how incompetent he's been in House oversight. And you never know, but there are plenty of guys here. And, you know, even if they decided to only have hearings about the possibility of impeachment, that alone would be a good thing, wouldn't it?
That would, you know, start the momentum going. Because
yeah,
I originally wrote an article about the impeachable offenses about 2 years ago on my blog. And it was posted by a bunch of websites. And one website contacted me recently, and it's redflag.com, and they said they've had 25 million views of that article. So that means a lot of people out around the country are interested in impeaching this man and getting him out of office. Yeah,
and not a minute too soon. I tell you, this guy needs to go. He should have never been elected in the first place. It frankly tells you how low the lowest denominator of voter has become, that a guy like this even got elected in the first place. And you know, and of course, you know, because of the political correct culture we live in now, that, you know, that decries of racism. What it decries of is a guy who 2 years before elected president of the United States was a lowly U.S. senator from Illinois. A U.S. senator, a state senator, rather, from Illinois. Guy goes from state senator to president of the United States in 2 years. That shows a gross lack of vetting, you know, and then you've seen the kind of character and policies he's pursued, his autocratic approach, his disregard of the other branches of government. You know, give us a few of the highlights, if you will. You know, I would think Nixon would pale in comparison when it comes to impeachable offenses.
Well, again, it all goes back to that oath of office, to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. People do not realize there are, in fact, federal laws that make it a criminal penalty to violate that oath. You can go to jail for up to a year and be fined up to $10,000 for each offense. And the offense means that you do something to denigrate the Constitution, or you do something to destroy our constitutional republic. Every time the president issues an illegal executive order, every time he refuses to enforce laws passed by Congress, every time he does something to denigrate our military, for example, every time he does something like taking over the auto industry, he is violating that oath of office. He is doing something outside of the Constitution that is designed to destroy the Constitution. All of those are criminal offenses, and under the Constitution, it is impeachable. The president can be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors. Well, that's exactly what's happening here. And it's happening almost on a daily basis, and it's happening when the president comes forward and says, okay, I'm going to issue 27 executive actions on my own to try to destroy the Second Amendment and take away the right of Americans to keep and bear arms. That is a constitutional right, upheld by the Supreme Court as an individual right twice, yet he continues to attack it. So that's where we stand with this president, and that's why he needs to be impeached.
You go to usjf.net, U.S. as in U.S. Justice Foundation, usjf.net. You'll see one of your options there in the slideshow about impeaching Barack Obama, and it's very compelling. You read it. It's an actual how articles of impeachment would likely look based on precedent. And you know what? You look at this, and again, and you compare it to Richard Nixon's actual articles of impeachment, and it's laughable. I mean, honestly, it's laughable in comparison. That what you've done with Barack Obama is so far beyond the realm of anything we've ever seen by any president. It's shocking, and it just shows you how detached and how lawless I think our culture is, our media is, that they continue to tolerate this. Yeah, so, Michael Connelly, I appreciate your contribution today.
Well, thank you for having me on, Kevin.
We're going to work on getting some of those members on, and 4 of them have been often on my program, and I'm going to have a good conversation about it. Ted Poe's, several of those are personal friends of mine, so we're going to have that conversation here on The Price of Business. We'll build momentum. Meanwhile, if you're a listener, because you are a listener, you just heard me say that. As a listener, I want to encourage you to go check out this article. I also want you to look up the members of the Judiciary Committee, and I don't care if they're Republican or Democrats. If they represent you, contact them. Make those Democrats aware of what's happening out there, and let's see what kind of momentum we can build. Let's make it more painful for them not to do something than for them to do something, and that requires action on each of our parts. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Kevin.
When we come back, much more for you. You're listening to The Price of Business. We want to remind you best content here does show up over there, including this interview. You're going to find it over there at usdailyreview.com. While there, like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter.